Nobody talks about the one person who changed everything, and they were living right next to you the whole time. I want to tell you about Nathaniel Carter, a regular guy. Nothing special about his life on the surface. He woke up, went to work, came home, made dinner, went to sleep. Repeat. Every single day. But one rainy evening, something happened that cracked his whole world open. And it started with a knock on a door that wasn't even his. This is that story. Nathaniel lived in a small neighborhood just outside Columbus, Ohio. The kind of place where everyone waves at each other but nobody actually talks. You know the type. Friendly enough on the outside, but everyone is really just living inside their own little bubble. His neighbor for 3 years was a woman named Dr. Sarah Morin. He knew she was a doctor, a gynecologist, because he had seen her once leaving the house in scrubs. They had exchanged maybe 15 words total in 3 years. A good morning here. A nice weather there. That was it. Nathaniel was 34 at the time. Single. Worked a desk job at an insurance company. He told his friends he was fine. He told his mom he was doing okay. But if you actually looked at his life, something was clearly missing. He hadn't been on a date in 2 years. He had stopped going to the gym. He used to love painting. He hadn't touched a brush in over a year. He was alive, but he wasn't really living. You know that feeling? Like you're just going through the motions, but nothing actually means anything? That was Nathaniel. Now here's where the story gets interesting. It was a Thursday night in November. One of those nights where the rain doesn't just fall, it attacks. Nathaniel had just gotten home from work, soaking wet, holding a paper bag of groceries that was slowly falling apart in his hands. He got to his front door, reached into his pocket for his keys, and realized they weren't there. Locked out, soaking wet. 8 p.m. on a Thursday. His landlord lived 40 minutes away. His closest friend was out of town. He had no idea what to do. So he just stood there on his porch for a second, rain hitting him in the face, groceries slowly dying in his arms, and then he heard it. "Hey, do you want to come inside?" He turned around, and there was Dr. Sarah Morin, standing on her porch with a cup of tea, looking at him like he was the most pitiful thing she had seen all week. And honestly, he probably was. He said yes. He walked into her house, expecting maybe 5 minutes of awkward, small talk while he waited for his landlord to call back. What he got instead was a 3-hour conversation that he said later felt like therapy. Stand-up comedy and a wake-up call all at the same time. Sarah was different than he expected. She was funny, sharp, the kind of person who says exactly what she thinks without being mean about it. She made him tea, she fed him leftovers, and somewhere between the second cup and the rain finally slowing down, she asked him a question that stopped him completely. She said, "What's something you used to love that you just stopped doing?" He didn't answer right away. He actually laughed it off at first, but she just waited. And something about the way she waited made him actually think about it. He said, "Painting." She said, "Why did you stop?" He said, "I don't know. Life got busy." And she looked at him and said, "That's not a reason. That's an excuse dressed up as a reason." Now here's the part that hit different. Sarah wasn't just being wise for the sake of it. She told him why she asked. She said that in her work as a doctor, she spent every day with women who were going through some of the hardest moments of their lives. And one thing she noticed over and over again was that the people who were struggling the most weren't just dealing with physical problems. They had slowly, quietly stopped doing the things that made them feel like themselves. The hobbies, the passions, the little things that gave them joy. And once those things were gone, everything else felt heavier. She said there's actually research behind this. Studies show that having a creative outlet, something just for you, with no pressure, no deadline, no reward, reduces cortisol levels, which is your stress hormone. It improves sleep. It helps with anxiety. One study from the American Journal of Public Health found that engaging in creative activities is directly linked to positive emotions and lower rates of depression. And it doesn't matter if you're good at it. It literally doesn't matter. The act itself is what helps. Nathaniel sat there and thought about how long it had been since he had done anything, just because he loved it. Not for money, not for anyone else, just for him. And he realized it had been years. Sarah told him something else that night that he never forgot. She said that people treat their lives like a house they're just renting. They don't paint the walls. They don't hang pictures. They don't make it theirs. Because somewhere deep down they're waiting for the real life to begin. Waiting until they have more money, more time, more energy. But that's the trap. Because the life you have right now, today, in this moment, this is it. This is the real one. She said, "You've been a guest in your own life, Nathaniel. It's time to move in." He said later that sentence hit him like a truck going 60 miles an hour. That night changed him. Not in a dramatic movie ending kind of way. Not overnight. But slowly, things started to shift. He bought a small set of paints the following weekend. Nothing fancy, just the basics. He sat down at his kitchen table on a Sunday morning with bad coffee and no plan, and he painted something terrible. It looked like a child made it, but he felt something he hadn't felt in a long time. He felt like himself. He started doing it every week. Then more often. He started sleeping better. He noticed he was less irritable at work. He started actually talking to people again instead of just existing near them. 6 months later, he had started going on dates again. A year later, he was in a relationship. 2 years later, he had an entire wall in his apartment covered in paintings he had made. None of this happened because of a miracle. It happened because one rainy night, a neighbor asked him a simple question and actually waited for a real answer. And here's what I want you to take from this story. You probably have a Sarah in your life. Someone who tells you the truth without wrapping it in bubble wrap. Someone who asks you the real questions. And if you don't, then maybe you need to be that person for yourself right now. Ask yourself what you've stopped doing. Ask yourself what excuse you've been dressing up as a reason. Because here's the truth. Nobody is coming to rescue you from a life that's just okay. You have to walk back into it yourself. Nathaniel didn't need a life coach or a 10-step program. He needed a cup of tea, a real conversation, and someone willing to say the honest thing out loud. And maybe, just maybe, you needed to hear this today too. If this story hit close to home, the next video on your screen is going to hit even harder. Go watch it.